Hey there and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for being here. If you're new, make sure you subscribe before you leave, and if you're a returning subscriber, if you have not done it already, hit that little bell down below for notifications on when I put up new videos. I upload twice a week. Oh my gosh, guys, it feels like it has been ages since I've really sat down, really made a video in like a very intentional way. The last month or so, I feel like I've been sitting down, trying to record videos, trying to kind of get back to the content that I know and love, that I feel like I owe you guys. I don't know, just the kind of content that I want to bring you, but everything I've created the last month just hasn't felt right, and that had a lot to do with just kind of the headspace that I was in. And I kind of like halfway through just acknowledged like I'm in a place right now where I really need to take a step back to just sort of like check in with myself and focus on that sort of stuff. So I figured the best way to come back was by way of a question and answer, and just kind of letting you guys know what's going on with me, where I'm at mentally, where I'm at, and also just like it's always nice to kind of touch base with you guys again and all that good stuff. Before I get into this though, I want to quickly mention I have a new microphone. I'm really hoping that it's picking up the audio correctly. It sounds like it's picking up the audio correctly. So if the next couple videos that I have, which should only be 2 of them, kind of sound a little bit strange, that's my apologies, that's my fault. It will absolutely get better in time. Anyways, now that that long intro is done, why don't you guys grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get started. All right, hopefully these questions are still on my Instagram because it's been a couple days. Here we go, perfect. The first question is, how are you doing? First and foremost, thank you so much for asking me that. Also, how are you doing? I'm in a much better headspace than I was the last video that I sat down and recorded. I'm feeling a lot better. There's a reason I'm wearing this shirt that says brighter days are ahead, even though as I'm recording this, it is election day in America, and that's really stressful. But I'm good, and thank you so much for asking that. I do feel a lot better. I feel a lot more clear-headed, and I'm in a better headspace. This isn't a question, but you're a big inspiration to me. You're comfortable in your own skin and I love it. Oh, that's really sweet. Well, thank you. I'm happy that I can be an inspiration to you, and believe it or not, by you even saying that to me, it's like inspiring to me. So I feel like it's a great cycle of just like lifting each other up. Can you travel the US given the border restrictions? Well, evidently you can, because if you haven't been able to notice, I'm currently in Boston, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was. There are definitely some restrictions and things that you have to do that you might want to look into. Like for Massachusetts, there is like sort of like a waiver form that you need to sign. How do you flag and filter out dudes who have a fat fetish on dating sites? Let me tell you, that's a hard one. And even when you're actively like making a point not to be going on specific sites with specific fetishes, they will find you everywhere. For me, a big, I mean absolutely huge red flag is if somebody is very focused on my body type. Like, I can assume, and I think I can rightly assume, that if you're talking to me and if you've seen my photos, you know what I look like and you're probably attracted to me. If you have to make a point to mention that you're attracted to body types like mine, that is where the immediate red flag begins. And also just the kind of people who don't understand necessarily that's like not something that I need from you or will ever need from you, is to like verify that you like my body type. I've always told people that there's a difference between preferences and fetishes, and if someone just seems very focused on a very specific body type of yours or a very specific body part or whatever, that usually means that there is some sort of a fetish there. So that is a big indicator to me. But with that being said, sometimes it does slip through the cracks. Sometimes they don't show those initial attractions. So then I have been in situations where I feel like, okay, this person's safe, they're not like fetishizing me in any way, and then we go and we are intimate with one another and they're very, very focused on like my belly or body parts that aren't like, I guess, the norm, which I hate saying anyway because like, you know what I mean? It's just it's a freaking huge indicator that they are not a Sarah fetishizer, they are a fat fetishizer, and I've only ever wanted somebody to be like obsessed with me as a whole versus like, you know, specific parts of mine. Like if I'm into somebody, I'm into somebody as a complete package. That's all I ask for in return, and that's all I've ever asked for. So that's typically how I kind of figure out who's who. What can I get my girlfriend to be more confident you're about her size and she finds you attractive? What can you get her? I don't know that there's anything necessarily that you can get your girlfriend. All I can say is that just to sort of be there as a support when they need it is probably the most important thing that you can do. I'm not gonna assume your size in any capacity, but based on the fact that you are asking me that, I can sort of assume that maybe you might be on the thinner side or you don't experience fatness in this world. And all I can say is that from a perspective of somebody who doesn't experience the world from a fat body and sort of the like internalized fat phobia that a lot of people have, on top of which is like all of these different media messages that we're getting since essentially birth, really. That's a big thing to endure and unpack as a single person, as a one person in this world. And the best and most, I think, crucial thing that you can do is sympathize with your partner, you know, allowing them to know that you're holding space for them and that you're there as more so like a support, and to be seen and to be heard and to be validated in their experiences. And then if you can, maybe do the research for them. Like if you are looking to give them something, do the research for them, find resources or videos or what have you of ways that you can sort of tackle your own internalized fat phobia and the stuff that you feel. And I think that's the best thing that you can do. So honestly, just be support, which it sounds like you want to be, and it sounds like you are, and I think that's great. That's a great place to start. My friend wants to start an OnlyFans. What advice would you give to her? There's actually a couple questions here about OnlyFans, and if you didn't know, I have one, so I'll make sure to link it in the description below. I would say in terms of starting an OnlyFans, the best and only thing that you can really do is just kind of like accept that, I mean, for me, really the biggest thing was accepting that by putting myself out there. And that way, there are still some people who have, you know, opinions and feelings about sex workers in any capacity, and I think that that's something that a lot of people still struggle with. Your body is your body. You're allowed to do with it what you may. I think the best advice that I've ever been given, because this is not my first time in the sex work industry, is just like, accept that the people you don't want to find out about it will probably find out about it, and you might be put in situations that you have to have conversations that maybe you don't want to have, and that's the unfortunate aspect about something like doing sex work in any capacity. I don't know, I feel like it's so different for everyone. It really depends on like what your friend expects to do or wants to do. I would also say another big one is start small. Like, unless you're really certain that you want to go very hardcore, whatever your intentions are, if you just want to start with sort of suggestive photos, start there. Start small and then sort of build up, because it's always easier to slightly build up than completely pull back altogether. And yeah, and then somebody else asked the best methods for advertising OnlyFans that aren't on main channels. I would say Reddit and Twitter. Reddit and Twitter are probably the best ways, and just being like consistent about it. That I'm so bad about that, because I just have so many different things that I need to be thinking about and working on. So my OnlyFans tends to sort of get lost in it all. Another great thing that you can do is, if you're going to advertise on like Reddit or Twitter or whatever, like give incentive for people who are signing up. I had a deal going around for a while where it was like, if you signed up from Reddit, then you would get one of my videos for free. So, which definitely worked and definitely got a lot of people coming in. Another great thing that you can do is do shout outs for shout outs with other models, which I've done and have found helped a great deal. So that's another one that you can do as well. And then what else could you do? I feel like those are the best ones for me. I would definitely take the time to like do some research on that, because I have found that I'm still sort of new to it. I still don't have all of it figured out. So just do your research and kind of figure out like what other people are saying, because I think that that's your best option. Why did you wait so long to go to Boston? Well, for a couple reasons. The first, the pandemic. I didn't really know what was going on with that, if I could go. When I came back, there was still a lot of new stuff that we didn't know, and I think, at least personally, I wanted to just play it really safe, kind of see how things were going. As cases started to get lower and lower, I felt a little bit more safe, and then just sort of seeing people go back and forth and how it's been pretty okay with them, and getting used to the idea of like quarantining and stuff like that, you know, just kind of like it being a new normal. Then also, with that being said, I did get into a relationship in Toronto, and that was something that I wanted to stick around for and see where it was going and kind of dedicate some time to that and whatnot. And with that ending, I feel like that was just sort of like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to Boston now and kind of like heal there and all that good stuff. And yeah, that's just, there was a whole slew of reasons, and I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of nice to be in one place for a decent amount of time, because that's not something that I've done for the last 7 years, and it was kind of nice to like just chill for a bit. Any plans to cut your hair? Maybe a shag? No. I honestly feel like I'm really attached to having long hair. Maybe the most minor trim ever, but I really like having long hair. What's your favorite holiday? Oh man, I would have to say Christmas. It's just so magical, and I can't wait until like things start getting decorated and everything's twinkling again. It's just gonna be so nice. And then probably also Valentine's Day, purely like for the aesthetic of it. Tips on feeling sexier when I don't feel it at the moment. I sometimes think when I have those moments where I don't feel sexy, I sometimes just have to like allow myself to be in that mood. It's like, I'm in my PJs, I haven't showered in a couple days, I feel kind of gross. I'm just gonna like throw on something really cozy and focus more on feeling cozy versus sexy, because I don't always need to feel sexy. But then also, if I'm having a moment where I want to challenge myself a little bit more, I'll then do something like put on lingerie or do my makeup, do my hair, like the usual things that tend to make me feel better, and then put on something, you know, that makes me feel really sexy in it. And then if I'm also feeling up for it, taking photos and having that to like look back on it is always a surefire way to make me feel good about myself. And then if I'm also feeling like it, sending out said photos and getting validation, which is not the best way to do it, but sometimes that's just kind of the mood that I'm in. Relationship status. Also, how's your mental health? Love your content. So there are a lot of questions about whether or not I am single, whether or not Gil and I are still together, and it's really awkward answering this with him like right over there, but he has headphones on. At this current moment, we are not together, and that has come from a lot of discussion and a lot of, you know, back and forth, a lot of really sort of just starting to like own up to certain feelings that we're having in this relationship. I think the biggest one being that being able to settle down in Toronto for 8 months made me really realize how much I just don't want to do long distance anymore. Although the relationship that I had in Toronto is over, it was unbelievably nice to have somebody who lived local and to have somebody that I could like go see on a whim if I wanted to, or, you know, not have to like plan this whole big elaborate thing about going to see them. And I know for a lot of you, you might be thinking, well, why don't you just move to the States? And I think that that was something that maybe made a lot more sense a while ago, and there's still a lot of things that I want to keep private and personal between him and I, because it's our relationship or was our relationship. But I just sort of feel like him and I are both in a place in our life right now where we need to do a lot of growing individually, and we need to figure out what life looks like individually. And I think that we're still going to be committed as friends to each other, because I couldn't imagine not having him in my life. But, you know, that's just how it currently is. It could very well change by the end of this trip. You don't know. I mean, we're also just sort of feeling things out. But it has felt unusually easy to go into this mode of being friends and supporting each other that way. So, yeah. That's that, and I hope you guys can understand that, and also, you know, be gentle and kind and all that good stuff. But I'm a totally single woman right now, so that's a really interesting experience and a really interesting thing to say, and not something I was expecting to say at 33 years old. But I'm also kind of excited to see like what comes up for me. I'm just in this, like, you asked about my mental health. I feel like for the most part, I feel like I'm okay. I've started doing therapy and stuff like that. I've had a lot of like really interesting like breakthroughs and a lot of like moments where I feel like, okay, I think I know what I want to do with my life. I think I know what I'm dedicated to doing, and that's really figuring myself out and doing X, Y, Z, and maybe there are big moves for myself in the future as well. There's some things that I'm thinking about in that regard, and leaving the country altogether, but not in a way that I had anticipated. But also there are moments where I feel really sad and I feel really scared, and I feel like, you know, there are a lot of uncertain things ahead of me. But I feel stronger now about tackling those things than maybe I did a couple of months ago, and a lot stronger in that I think that I'm a capable human being, and I can do that on my own. And it's just really interesting how sometimes with anxiety and depression, we get in these headspaces where we're so sure we can't accomplish XYZ, and we're so sure that like we can't do that big scary thing that we're gonna do, or we can't let go of this thing that's, you know, served us well or helped us in certain ways. Realizing that once that's gone, much like anything in life, you learn to adapt. I can adapt to what I need to adapt to, and it's scary and it's unknown and it's a lot of different things, but I'm stronger than I give myself credit for, and there are resources available out there to me. And sorry, my camera keeps shutting off, so I have no idea where I was, but I think I said something about how unfortunately this all had to come after sort of hitting my own personal rock bottom for a multitude of reasons. That wasn't just a breakup, and I feel like I want to just get that out there and say that. But I had a lot of really extreme lows and a lot of things that happened that I didn't anticipate, you know, in the last month or so, and just having that all hit me and feeling the weight of that all, but also being able to bounce back from that. I think whatever way you want to look at it, the universe or whatever, like something about that just gave me this like really, I don't know, just like euphoric feeling of like, wait a minute, like I have been the one to get me through everything in life, and I just feel this new lease on life, and I'm really excited about that. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I'm doing okay, and I really appreciate you asking. I really appreciate you guys checking in, and I will continue to be an open book because I feel like that is something that has been unbelievably helpful to me. Like, no matter what I feel about the things that I've put out there and I've said, I just always look back and feel so happy that I have just this evidence and this proof that I've come so far. Any thoughts on influencers editing their bodies in IG pics? I feel like everyone should be allowed to do whatever they want to do. Just the problem that I have with that is if you're not going to be honest about the fact that you're editing your photos, that's where the problem is created. Because I don't think that a lot of people can, I mean, I know even myself, I can't really tell who's editing, who's not, unless it's like a really botched job. But it will definitely lead people to think that that is like a legitimate real body shape, and then get them in this like really bad mindset of like, why don't I look like that? Why is it my body shape like that? When the reality is that their own body isn't shaped like that. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. Just be honest with it. If you don't like a body part of yours, that's not necessarily even your fault. That's the fault of the media that we have. That's the fault of the like all of the stuff that we've been spoon-fed since we were little kids, and not all of us can do the work, and not all of us know how to do the work. And hell, some of us who are doing the work still have areas of our body that we're not totally comfortable with. So man, so many people asking if I'm single. Jesus. Do you ever feel lonely living on your own? Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think that's a big one for me. And after I had moved out of an old toxic living situation that really wasn't working for me, actually 2 toxic living situations, geez, I had this like really, I was super excited to live on my own, but the second I got settled into it, then came the feeling of loneliness in a way that I had never experienced before. And if I'm being entirely honest, last Christmas I went to go put up my Christmas tree, and I just had nobody to put it up with me, and it really bummed me out. Like, I remember just like putting up my Christmas tree thinking like this should be like such a good moment for me, but I sobbed for like hours being like, I don't want to do these things alone in life. I want to share this with somebody. I want to share this with my person. And it was really, really hard. And those are the kinds of parts of life that unfortunately I think that we need to have those moments. We need to have those alone moments. And I've realized that like those are the things that I really need to be tackling in my life. So how's Pepper? She's great. We actually just, it was yesterday, just the like 1 year anniversary of her being in our lives, and I love her to death. She's so cute. She's adorable. She's the best ever. And she's so freaking like vivacious. She's like this little thing that I don't think she weighs more than 3 pounds, and she's just still so tiny, but she's got so much personality, but she's so unbelievably small. She's definitely a yappy chihuahua, but like being one of the 3 people that she likes in this world makes me feel like really good about myself. Not a cue, just want to say your vids are getting me through leaving my 10-year plus partner. I'm so tired, but your content always helps. Thanks for your kindness. I've never felt brave enough to make a GoFundMe to help me safely get away anyway. Be well, sweet human. My God, I don't know why I couldn't read that. First and foremost, I want to just take a moment to congratulate you on doing that and acknowledging what you need, and that is such a huge thing to do, but like an amazing thing. And I really hope that you're proud of yourself, and I really hope that you've been able to acknowledge that you did such an incredible thing for yourself. I feel like once you choose yourself, once you pick yourself, that gives you such like an epiphany, such a moment where you're like, you know what? I love myself. I want to pick myself. I might not feel it in this moment, and it might be tough, but like you're doing the hard work. You're doing the work that needs to be done, and that's huge. I also want to say, if you want to let me know what that GoFundMe is, please do. I can share it on like in the comments below if anybody might want to help you out, and I mean, I'd love to be able to help you out as well. So just let me know where you're at. Please do give me updates. Let me know if there's anything I can do. And the best of luck to you. Like, genuinely speaking, I just want you to know that like I'm super inspired by you, and that's huge. What would your high school self think of who you are now? I would say I think the high school version of myself would be really proud of who I am. I think that she would be super, super shocked about who I am as well. I don't think that I ever dreamed this up for myself, but it's kind of cool that I've been able to live in this reality that I never even knew was a possibility. Mind you, YouTube wasn't a thing when I mean, ish. YouTube was kind of a thing when I was younger, so I think that she would think I was pretty cool. Yeah, I think I'd be proud. Guy I used to really like and went on dates with blocked me. Now unblocked me. Why? Okay, so blocking's interesting. I don't know why. I really can't tell you why he did it. But I actually have blocked people, and I tend to block when I feel like there's nothing left, or rather I'm trying to get out of the cycle of expecting messages from a person or expecting communication. It comes from a place, and I can only speak for my own self, it comes from a place of being like, okay, I can't hear from them, and I can't not hear from them, and how do I exist in this like really weird predicament that I'm in? And the only thing that I can do that's of my control is to block it and to block them out, because for whatever reason I need to completely restructure how I'm feeling. And it's totally not like a malicious thing or anything like that, because I know eventually I'll come to a point where I might be able to or might be in a place where I want to communicate with them again and want to like open up those lines of communication. But to do that for me is just sort of like a protective measure. But if they're unblocking you, what I'm getting from that is that they've rethought it, or they're in a better place now and they are hoping to open up the lines of communication again. I will say this. I did this recently, the whole blocking thing. And at the moment when I did it, it didn't feel like I needed to communicate it in any capacity. It sort of just felt like I needed to just do it, like the decision had already been made. They didn't want me in their life anymore. So what did it matter if I blocked them or not? You know, like it wasn't like they were going to be talking to me. It wasn't like there was going to be communication in any capacity. But now kind of rethinking the whole situation, I do think that maybe whether or not they cared, whether or not they like had any emotion about it, that at least like communicating that, you know, at least just being like, I'm gonna also take my step back. I'm also not gonna message you, would maybe help this confusion that you feel, right? Like I've definitely been blocked before in the past too, and it's left me really confused. People are always looking to protect themselves, and I think that unfortunately we've sort of just we're on autopilot with that stuff now. We tend to look for signs or look for reasons or do things that instinctively mean protecting ourselves first, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think anyone should put somebody else's needs before their own. However, I think that the communication aspect probably needs to be worked on. Even calling myself out on that, like, you know, we're all capable of being the toxic person, and if that's you and if you feel like asking him, the only way you're gonna get your answer is if you ask him, like, why did you block me? Why did you do that? It hurt me. And just hopefully he gives you a pretty honest answer and doesn't act like it didn't happen, because obviously you knew when you want answers. So maybe do that. Maybe just see what's going on there. I don't know if I've given you any I don't know if I've given you any good answer. Really and honestly, it sucks to be blocked, but also I feel like blocking is just like a protective thing. Okay, so all the other questions are questions I don't really want to answer, and just a lot of like real weird things like marry me and can you be my mommy again. So I don't really feel like that's necessary to answer. I think that this is also good enough too. I'm pretty sure this is going to be like a good 30-minute video. I just quickly want to say again, hello. I'm really happy to be back, and hopefully this video answered a lot of questions for you guys. And I will definitely do something like this again in the future for sure. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video though. So don't forget, you can find new videos for me every Wednesday and every Sunday, and new vlogs every Tuesday and every Thursday. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Don't wanna wake up if I'm dreaming, because you know I can't get enough of this feeling you're giving me. Don't wanna wake up.